Hi guys, RF Killing Softly. How are y'all doing? Hope you're doing well. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, leave a comment at the end of this, or leave a comment right now. Fill your boots. I'll respond to everyone. Getting back to growing up. If you watched the other video, you know that the first year of my life was pretty crummy. Well, it didn't get any better. I just got smarter and learned to stay away from everybody so that I didn't get beat up because literally everybody around liked to kick me around. I had three older sisters, they didn't have a problem kicking me around. I had two sisters that were 4 years older than me. No, they weren't twins, but they were same age, two different families getting together. And one stepsister that's 8 years older than me, and all coming from a troubled environment. Nightmare for me. Not to mention there are three girls in the house. Not to mention with the mom, there's four crazy women in the house. It was a nightmare. You did not want to leave the toilet seat up in that house, just to let you know. And then on top of those four girls, in my house, there could be easily 8 or 10 girls there all the time. Because all my sisters had friends. Some of the friends, I mean, there was perks to being a little brother too at certain points in my life because of their friends. But that's another story, but a great one. Several great ones. Anyways, the I was the household punching bag, the household scapegoat. If somebody broke something, Eddie did it. If somebody wanted to hit something, they hit Eddie. You know, Eddie's me, just in case you're wondering. Uh, so basically, by the time I started school, in my world, where it was fight or flight, and the only one I ran from was my mother, because my mother was a psychotic fucking mental case. Other than that, I had no fear, like no fear. My sisters, like I told you, they were older than me, would come back from the bus stop every night after school, the year prior to me starting school, crying because the two brothers, a couple of doors down, would always pick on them and smack them around and be little brats, you know. And I remember saying to my sisters, "Don't worry, next year I start school, I'll take care of them for you." And of course they're laughing because you're gonna be only four next year. And yeah, I started school at 4 years old because my birthday's in December. The And the very first day I went to school, those boys didn't get a chance to chirp my sisters. And just for the record, they were 12 and 15 years old, or 12 and 14 years old. Yeah, the oldest one's a little bit slow. Actually, they are both a bit slow. Actually. Anyways, I went up the front of them, down the back of them. I would not let them stand at the bus stop. And it's not like the bus stop was in front of my house. The bus stop was a quarter mile away from my house. I made them stand literally 20 feet away from the bus stop until the bus got there. Then we would go on the bus, and then they would come on the bus. Literally, that was my routine every single morning until June, just before school was over. And as you can imagine, these boys, that was the first day they dealt with me. They didn't know how to deal with me. By June, I was fighting these guys every single morning, and not a lick of issue about Not ever feeling any pain. Not ever feeling any pain. Only hearing ow. Ow, ow, ow. Anyways, the my uncle came from Quebec, and he was 16 years old. Tattoos and Montreal City, Longueuil, Montreal, town housing. He was what they call a thug, an OG. Anyways, he came to the bus stop and he freaked on those kids, and those kids transferred schools. That was the end of those kids. Anyways, the unfortunately for me, that kind of behavior isn't acceptable in the real world or in school. And so when I go to school, they put me in a kindergarten class with 50 other kids whose parents love them, and they're spoiled, and they're used to getting their own way, and they're used to just grabbing things from other people and pushing people around and doing stuff like spoiled kids do. I was the nicest kid in the class until you pushed me, hit me, stole something from me. And then I would punch you in the nose repeatedly until you changed your attitude. If it took one, no problem. If it took 21, sorry to be you. Literally, I got into a fight every single day in kindergarten and was in the office every single day. Office. Now, hence the principal. The principal's name is Mr. Woodger. I'll never forget him because he was an older guy. He would actually retire the following year. And the principal's office where you go to get into trouble. The only thing is, where I came from in life, going to Mr. Woodger's principal office wasn't getting in trouble. The guy was like Santa Claus to me because he seen a 4-year-old kid, probably shouldn't have started till next year, knowing full well that I have crazy parents because my sisters are older. So he's been dealing with my sisters or my parents for, 4 or 5 years. Anyways, the he literally would give me chocolate milk, some cookies and stuff like that. He never yelled at me. Even when I was in trouble, he would always be like, "Well, what's going on?" And he would ask me all these questions. He wasn't hitting me. He wasn't yelling at me. He wasn't swearing at me. I loved the guy. I wanted to see him every day. So that was kind of a weird thing to, to try to discipline me. That wasn't working. That was like almost motivational to me. Like, I punch this guy in the face and I get to go see Mr. Woodgers. Well, I guess I'm going to see Mr. Woodgers the first chance I get. Oh, the kid bumps into me. Baff! Oh, go to the office. Okay. Anyways, then the Christmas holidays roll around, and all of a sudden, my parents are dropping me off in a reform school. I just turned 5, and the next youngest kid in that reform school was 10 years old. And the very first week I'm in that reform school, and I'm going to spend 18 months in that reform school. The very first week I'm in that reform school, I wake up in the middle of the night with a 200-pound 14-year-old straddling me, pressing my arms underneath his legs, his knees, and as soon as he does that, he starts punching me in the face till I'm unconscious. Anyways, now I spent 18 months in there. I made deals with 16-year-old and 17-year-old kids who were in the other units to beat up that 14-year-old when I was 5 years old. And they did, and I didn't have to deal with that 14-year-old anymore because I made a deal with one of the 16-year-olds, and he took care of it for me. Even though we weren't in, because in this unit it was whatever, everybody up to the age of 15. And in the other units it was 16-year-olds to 18-year-olds. Makes sense. Anyways, we hardly ever seen each other except for on a Tuesdays in between going to crafts. I would pass that guy every Tuesday, and every Tuesday before I talked to him, because I was so young and so little, he would reach across the lane because he's walking towards me. We're passing. He would throw his hand on my head and give me a little kind of, pat on the head. So that when I finally figured out the idea of getting some help by somebody, I thought of him. And at that moment, as we're passing, I stopped. I asked him, and I told him the situation. And he's like, well, we'll see what we can do. There's more to that story. And maybe one day I'll get into it. But it involves him dating one of my sisters. Anyways, I learned a lot in that school over 18 months. But I also hated every single second being there. As an adult, when I became a parent, I reflected on that. I'm like, how come I'm so different from my crazy family? That's why I'm so different from my crazy family, because of that 18 months at that particular time and how it actually went down. It changed the direction of my life because I was a wild kid with no real solid influences to guide me on social acceptance, because everybody in my house were mental cases. My stepfather had a roofing company, and if you know anything about roofing crews and stuff like that, they're usually uneducated with long criminal records and uh, substance abuse issues and stuff like that. So these were the guys that raised me, other than the 18 months in that reform school. Now, in that reform school, because I wasn't put there by the courts, I was put there voluntarily by my parents. If at school I had no issues from Monday to Friday, no complaints, I could come home for Saturday and Sunday. I didn't miss a Saturday and Sunday coming home. I made it home every single Saturday and Sunday because I wanted to be there. I hated the school, even though my parents... See, when your parents hate you from birth and abuse you from birth, you don't know that that is wrong. You just think that's part of life. It's just the way it is. I loved my parents. I thought the world of them. I would do anything for them, but they just didn't love me. But I didn't know that. It was just one of those things, right? Anyways, trying to keep these videos a little bit shorter. I'm going to continue these talks and let you know who I am and where I come from. But if you could please hit the like and share and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. I love you guys. Play safe. Till the next video. Peace.